Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We will discuss cloud scale remote access for everyone, which is a pertinent requirement given the situation that we're all living through, the corona COVID-19 crisis. With me in this webinar is Eyal Webber-Zvik. He's our head of product marketing. Eyal.
Hi, hello, pleasure to be here.
So what we will do today, we'll talk a little bit about the remote access challenge, how Cato addresses it, what our customers have been seeing, and then Eyal will deliver a demo that will demonstrate how the remote access solution works. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what are the requirements and challenges of remote access at a time of crisis. So there is a paradigm shift that we're going through, where in the past we used to work mostly from an office, and then only a subset of the business would work remotely. Now everybody has to work remote, work from home, as we are being quarantined country after country due to the pandemic. And the challenge is that VPN is not aligned with these new requirements. So as I mentioned, it was mainly designed for sporadic access by a subset of the user base. So a salesperson getting to a hotel room at the end of the workday need to update some applications, some information. And this is kind of how a VPN was typically used, and it was designed at the end of the day for some of the users, some of the time, not for a situation where everybody needs to access everything all the time. And with that is that scaling of VPN is a hassle. It's slow, it's expensive, and for the most part, it's not scalable. So if you look at the quote here from one of our customers, ASM, basically, as they shifted more and more users, they were started to hit a performance ceiling on their VPN, and they expected the VPN to break eventually as everybody moves to work from home. So what we need is a remote access that has evolved, that can support the entire business and provide strong authentication, threat prevention, optimized access. These are all things that we expected in our previous remote access model. We need them more than ever, plus we need it for the entire business, given the fact that security controls and access optimization that are available in the office are no longer available from home. And we have been experiencing that shift in our business. So you can see here a graph of the concurrent remote users, VPN users that are connected to our infrastructure. And within the last 21 days or so, we've seen a radical increase. Basically, the usage more than doubled because all of our customers that used our SD-WAN technology and remote access technology combined now have basically 100% of the users or close to that number moving to work exclusively from a remote location. So what are the legacy VPN scale challenges? Before we all had to work from home, we had a VPN server in headquarters, and we had mobile users sporadically connecting to that VPN server over the internet. It's not a great optimized access. Nobody likes VPN, but it worked. And essentially, when we go to work from home, we have to dramatically expand our VPN infrastructure if the number of users it needs to support has grown dramatically. So we have to add a capacity in the data center. We have to deploy global concentrators if we have globally distributed workforce. And basically all of that means more cost, more time. And this is actually not an ideal solution if you need to rapidly deliver work from home to the entire business, right? Because there's procurement here, there's deployment, configuration, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So this is the primary challenge that we're seeing. And I want now to kind of put up a poll where we're asking you, what kind of challenges do you experience with your current remote access solution? And you can see the options or share other thoughts if you have. Give you a few seconds here to reply. Okay, so results are coming in, and basically, as I stated, the number one kind of challenge is the scalability issue, is the ability to support VPNs, followed by the global distribution. So these are the two main issues that seem to be resonating with everyone. So what do we propose? So, basically, mobile access or remote access is a key feature of the Cato platform. And the Cato platform is built on an architecture that is called SASE, the Secure Access Service Edge, which is a convergence of multiple capabilities across the networking and security domains. So things like SD-WAN, global connectivity, security, cloud security, acceleration, and remote access, they are all converged into a single platform that deliver all of these capabilities to the business. And we actually have a lot of experience delivering that service. We signed up over 450 customers. We are managing over 4,000 branches and cloud instances. And what's important for our session today is that we have over 100,000 mobile users on our platform, which means we are already delivering remote access at scale even before the crisis that we are all going through right now. Okay, so we have a lot of experience delivering remote access. So how does it work at a high level, right? So the first thing that Cato does is connect all the different edges of the enterprise, the headquarters, the branches, the clouds, and mobile users and remote users into a single cloud network. And we're optimizing traffic from all these edges between themselves and to the internet through a single cloud platform. Next, once we have all the traffic running in the cloud network, we're able to continuously inspect all the traffic for threats. We can enforce access control, we can detect malicious sites and malicious files, and we can protect the end users. And what's nice about this is that it's the same level of protection no matter where you are. You can sit in a branch, you can be in headquarters, or you can work from home. It's the same security stack that protects you everywhere. And lastly, this is all managed through a single console, and we have a flexible model. Some customers want to manage it themselves, like it's going to be the case here for the most part, or we can offer a co-managed or a fully managed service. So that's the high-level Cato architecture. Now, let's see how we deliver remote access at scale. That was the problem with VPN. That's what we want to do. So the first component of our solution is a global cloud network. You can see here all the different locations where that network is deployed. This is a cloud service, so you don't have to deploy any kind of infrastructure or any kind of hardware anywhere in order to get the remote access benefit. We have over 50 global POPs, which are in close proximity to every business location and every business user. So no infrastructure build out, a very broad global footprint. Where you are, we are. So that's the first piece. The second piece is a cloud scale. So what is it that the Cato POP does? So the Cato POP is a set of physical servers. We are talking between 6 and 8 servers per POP, and we can add more servers as needed. Each server has 8 CPUs, and each CPU can process 2 gigabit of traffic from any edge. It can be a branch edge, a mobile edge, or whatever. So this can scale to thousands and tens of thousands of tunnels per server in a seamless way. So that's the first part. The second is though we are load balancing the entire environment. So as those tunnels come in from mobile users, from work from home users, from branches, we allocate the tunnel to a CPU, and we're managing the load across the entire POP infrastructure, so the service levels and quality of experience are maintained. Next, it's self-healing, which means that if there is an issue, if a user cannot reach the POP or there was some kind of a software problem, it's possible to fail over automatically. This is all happening automatically without any user involvement, not the end user or the customer IT. The tunnels will migrate from a failing server to another server within the same POP, and if the entire POP is unreachable, it's possible to the tunnels will automatically move to the nearest available POP, right? So if you're connected to Frankfurt and the Frankfurt POP and the Frankfurt POP is not accessible, you fail over to Amsterdam, and the service continues. User accessibility is always maintained. Now, this actually has a tremendous benefit to customer. You can see the quote here. Essentially, as this particular customer was hitting 800 work from home users, the VPN server that they've been using was basically will not be able to handle the load. And the fact that they are using Cato made that transition seamless. This infrastructure simply absorbs remote access tunnels, and the customer does not have to go through any sizing or planning or capacity planning in order for their infrastructure to accommodate the increased load of work from home users. This is the experience of the Cato customers. So we talked about global footprint and cloud scale. Let's talk about two more benefits. The first one is optimized access. So as the user traffic goes through the POP is running through a set of optimizations that are made available to that particular end user. The first benefit is the global private backbone, which allows or basically carries the mobile user traffic that from the first part the user is connected to, the one nearest to that end user, across the backbone and to the data center or to the cloud data center or to the cloud applications that the user is trying to get to. So instead of using the public internet for the entire route, you're using the internet only for the short route between the user and the POP, typically within the same country. And then you go over the Cato Global Private Backbone for the rest of the way and all the way to the application, which actually creates a predictable, consistent, and high performance route for that user. The second is that we apply different kind of software-based optimizations to accelerate operations like file uploads and file downloads, which makes the overall user experience very good. So these are all capabilities that you typically get when you're in the office. Now they're being delivered down to a single user. Next is security. So we talked about the fact that once the user is connected, all traffic is continuously inspected by the Cato security stack. So it includes strong authentication, including multi-factor authentication, which enables access to the Cato cloud itself. Then it enforces a set of granular policies on application-specific access. So unlike VPN, you don't get access to the full network, you're accessing only the applications you're allowed to do. And then the traffic is inspected for threats with URL filtering, anti-malware, next-gen anti-malware, IPS. All of these engines are inspecting the traffic, which means that it's not just at the time that you connect, you're continuously being assessed and protected regardless of where you're going against internet-borne threats. Okay? So there it is, the total solution, a global cloud service that can scale to accommodate any load, that deliver optimizations all the way down to your home or remote location with full security and inspection that is the same level of security that you get from when you're in the office. So how do you deploy this? This is kind of my kind of my almost last slide. How do you deploy this? So it's actually a three-step process, and it can involve only configurations and software, which means that you can deploy a Cato remote access capability in a day. The first step is connect your on-premise data center. The fastest way to do it is to establish an IPsec tunnel from an existing firewall or router to the nearest port. It is also possible to get from us an SD-WAN device if you want more capabilities at the edge from managing multiple last mile links, etc. But of course, that requires shipment and installation of equipment. So you can choose what option you want for the sake of speed and with all the restrictions on access to physical locations. An IPsec configuration is the easiest way to go. Then the next thing you do, if you have those, you can connect the cloud data center. Again, it's a simple configuration of an IPsec tunnel or a virtual SD-WAN capability to connecting to the nearest POP. And that makes the cloud data center, much like the physical data center, a native part of your network. It's fully accessible according to a granular access policies. And then the third step is self-provisioning of remote access. So we integrate with your Active Directory. We would bring in all the users you want to provide remote access to, potentially the entire business. And then users can use two options. Either they use our client, which gives them full access, all protocols, kind of all applications, especially if you have legacy applications. This is a good way to, this is kind of the way to do it. Or if you have users that only need access to web-based applications, internal web-based applications, they can leverage our clientless access. They don't have to install anything, and it's going to work essentially the same way. The user connects to the nearest POP, and from that POP, based on access policies, they will optimally get to their destination, on-prem or in the cloud, and going through a full security inspection, as we discussed, for all the traffic. Okay, so connect the data center on-prem, connect the cloud data center, deploy client or clientless access to your remote users, and you're good to go. And you can do that at a very significant scale from the get-go. You don't have to worry about scaling. That's our kind of responsibility, and we are actually doing pretty well handling our customer demands on that regard. So this is the deployment. And I want to kind of finish with some customer perspective. So Edroll is one of our customers, and what's interesting about them is that they've been working from home forever. So their entire business, 800 plus employees, they all VPN. They used to VPN to a single firewall VPN appliance in headquarters, and that was, of course, a big challenge. It's a single point of failure, performance issues, and ultimately what they wanted to do is to optimize access to AWS where their environment lived. And that's exactly what they did with Cato. They deployed Cato with Cato clients. All the users connect to the nearest POP. They get an optimized route to AWS. Everything is managed centrally for one place. There is no trombone, meaning you don't have to go to a physical device and then get out to the cloud. You go straight to the cloud. Basically, they've been working like that for several years now. And this is a very good blueprint to how an organization that has shifted from physical locations to work from home would ultimately look like in the Cato environment. More recently, we've deployed this capability in some of our customers that extended kind of their work with us. So I want to share a few quotes. So the first one, it's actually, this is a quote from before the crisis. Here, the key architect for the deployment of Cato says that Cato is the secret business continuity plan for the organization. If the global network is down, you can basically use Cato clients and work from home. Now, while he wasn't thinking about the pandemic scenario, it's actually very similar. Users can no longer access the global network. the MPLS, the internet-based network that connects all the physical locations. So they're basically seamlessly switching to working from home and using the Cato network now in a work from home mode versus an office mode. This is a very strong demonstration of how customers with insight and vision can use Cato to create capabilities that did not have before. Next is velocity or agility. So Westmoreland, another customer of ours, needed to deploy this very, very quickly. So basically, you get 150 clients, the end user self-provision them, and everything gets connected to Cato. So the ability to deploy Cato rapidly is one of our hallmarks. It's the ability to do things because you don't have to plan. You don't have to deploy physical infrastructure. You don't have to deploy concentrators. You don't have to go global. You basically send people an email with a link to client installation, and they provision the client, and off they go. And finally, I think this in the GeoSyntec case, they saw several benefits. One is the fact that we are actually securing those users. Again, remember, we're working from home. There are no firewalls there. There's no security infrastructure. Whatever is protecting the branch or the remote the location no longer is available. Cato extends security everywhere. So that's the first thing. Second, it's simple, but it's robust. So it's designed to work all the time. The users log in the morning, the VPN tunnels open up, they never shut down. Cato maintains all that traffic with the optimization and everything. So ultimately, this combination of strong security, simplicity, and continuous usage enables those employees in GeoSyntec to work securely and provide productively when they are remote as if they were in the office. So what I'd like to do now, before we will take more questions from you, is to move it over to Eyal so he can show us the demo. Eyal.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yishay. So I'm going to switch now to my demo environment and show you almost everything that Yishay just mentioned, real live. So let's start with creating a new VPN user. In principle, I can pull users from the Active Directory, but in this demo, I want to create a new user manually. I'm clicking the plus button here, setting up the username, work from home, and I'm going to use my own email so we can see the email that is being received immediately after I click OK here. So an invite is now being sent and the user is added to the directory. Let's go and activate the user. So the email just came in. I see the demo account and the username is work from home, which I just configured. And all I have to do now is to click here to activate. I'm being taken to my user portal. I need to type in a new password. This one. And then the password is saved and I'm automatically being routed to the user portal itself. From here I can download the VPN client to any of the available operating systems that we support. You can see there is a long list of Linux distributions as well. And I download the VPN client and I also will download the Cato profile, which allows me quick onboarding. Now let's go install the client and connect ourselves. So now let's bring up the Cato client and connect for the first time. So here's the Cato VPN client. Coming up for the first time, it doesn't have any user defined in it. I can either use my corporate identity, which will take me to a single sign-on portal, or I can use Cato login, which is what I'm going to use in this case. Instead of typing all the details here, I can just use the profile file that I just downloaded. Let's put it up and automatically delete it after use, and you can see that now the user is already configured here. And all I have to do is to click the connect button. The client will find the nearest Cato POP and connect me to the network. And here I am connected. Back to the management application, we can see the user connected here in real time. Clicking on it will give us even more information, like the operating system it is using, the client, and even the ISP it is connecting through and the POP that it is connected to. Now that I'm connected, my user is actually protected by the corporate security stack, We can demonstrate this by browsing to a website that is forbidden to access by the corporate policy. For example, let's go to 888.com. And as you can see, I'm getting an access denied notification because it violates the corporate policy. If I turn off the client, here we go, and try to browse to the same website again, the site would obviously load because the security is not existing. So getting back to our management application, and let's go to our analytics event discovery and see exactly what happened. So you can see that there were a few events that are blocked by the internet firewalls, and if I drill down into them, I can see that my attempt to go into 888.com when the client was connected was indeed blocked by the internet firewall. We can see that it was categorized as a gambling application, which we don't allow. You can see my operating system, the user, and even the destination country which is hosting the web application that I tried to access. So the next cool thing I'm going to show is the power of our built-in WAN optimization. To do this, I'm going to do a file transfer between my laptop here in Tel Aviv and a Windows server that is hosted in AWS US East here. So before I start, I'm going to reconnect my client. There we go. And in a second, we're going to see it on the map. Here it is. And we're going to see that it's connected to our POP in Tel Aviv. What I'll do now is disable the SMB WAN optimization rule from here. This would give us the ability to compare the performance with and without it. My network traffic would still go over Cato's private backbone, benefiting from no packet loss, but there will be no acceleration. I'm going to use a cool little app called LAN Speed Test to measure the throughput between my laptop and the server in Virginia. Bringing it up, and let's start the test all the way to the server in Virginia. What this app is doing is it's actually writing a file over SMB to the remote server and then reading it back again. So let's see the results. Writing speed is 8 megabits per second, and download speed, which is the most interesting part, is around 7.65 megabits per second. Now let's go and enable the optimization rule. Turning it on, saving the configuration. Now let's bring back the client to the front of the screen and the previous. Open another LAN speed test app instance so we can compare the results side by side and start the test again. And now let's look at the download speed with the built-in optimization. Writing is done and reading is 5 times faster than it was without the optimization. This is the actual user experience improvement that we are providing. The next thing I'm going to show is how great the experience is over our backbone also for other applications like remote desktop protocols. So I'm going to connect to the same server in AWS Virginia. Let's open my remote desktop connection client. This is the IP address. I'm now connecting to it. You see that it is happening very, very fast and the desktop is loading just now. And to make sure that I'm indeed in Ashburn, Virginia, you can go to whatsmyip.com, and here you can see that I am indeed in Ashburn, Virginia. And I can also show you that the same security policy that I had for my VPN client is applied everywhere in the world, even when I'm browsing through a remote desktop protocol through a remote machine. One last example of how great the network is performing is to run a YouTube video over RDP. You see that it is streaming without any issues, hiccups, or breaks, or even buffering. There you go. So back to my screen. In my last part of the demo, I want to show you how I can access my corporate application without a client. So I'm going to disconnect the client here. See, it's disconnected, and I'm going to access my corporate application through a web portal. So I'm going to sign in with my Azure credential. I'm actually using my real credential and not a demo account for this purpose. I'm going to type my password. going to request a multi-factor authentication. And now I use my real Azure credentials to authenticate into Cato's production application portal, where I can see a long list of applications that I can access over this web browser and without a client installed or connected. One example is Cato's Kibana Flows application. Let's click on it. And there it is loading without me having to install or even connect my VPN client. So that's it. Back to you, Yishay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eyal, for this great demo. So, couple of two more polls for you. One is, would you be interested in a free POC of Cato Remote Access Solution? This is something you can try today, and if you like it, you just can keep it in production. I know that many of our prospects and customers are really anxious to deploy something quickly. So I'll let you answer that. Thank you. And now it's time for questions before we will close. So I'd like to welcome your questions now. There is a question box near this webinar broadcasting. If your question is not getting answered, still feel free to type it in. We will get back to you with an answer and potentially answer any other question you may have. So let's see what we are getting here. So Eyal, why don't you read us the question?
Okay. So first question that we'll see, actually we see two of those, more or less the same. Have your service been impacted with the huge growth in remote access users in the past month? So as Yishay showed, we've seen this rapid growth in mobile users, but it had zero impact on our service for two reasons. One is that we are planning our service capacity in a way that we can always sustain such a growth. And the second reason is that those users already generated network traffic and used our service when they were in the office. They simply moved to consume the same service from home. So it's not an increase in load on our servers, but instead a different tunnel from which the end users are connected. Another question that we have, what about non-Cato customers? Can they use Cato services for remote access only without deploying you for the entire network? So as Yishay mentioned, the answer is absolutely yes. You can use us solely for secure remote access. Just connect your data centers or your specific servers to our cloud and from one side and your remote users from the other side. And through that, we are able to provide you the secure and optimized remote access connectivity. I think we have time left for one more question. So here's an interesting one. Although you have many POPs, there are some users in my organization in countries you don't have a POP in. How would the service work for them? So our clients are designed to automatically find the best available Cato POP. They would, once they try to connect, they would search the network and find the nearest Cato POP and establish a secure connection to that POP. If you're using a clientless access, then by browsing to the clientless access portal, we would automatically route you to our nearest POP to provide a service from there. So even if we don't have presence in your country at the moment, we would still serve you from the nearest Cato POP, which in majority of cases would always be better and more secure than backhauling to a centralized VPN concentrator, somewhere that is usually further away from the nearest Cato POP. And I think this is all the time that we have.
Okay, so
Yishay?
thank you thank you, Eyal. And I think that we're looking forward to seeing more of your questions and serving you either with our remote access solution or with our full platform. And thank you very much for joining us today. And stay safe, stay healthy. These are difficult times, but they too shall pass. Thank you very much.